In 1947, Pakistan and India began their journey as independent nations. Both inherited similar colonial legacies, both faced poverty, both faced enormous challenges. Yet today, India is the world's fourth largest economy. Meanwhile, Pakistan finds itself trapped in repeated financial crises. Inflation has surged, foreign reserves have collapsed, the country has repeatedly turned to the International Monetary Fund for emergency bailouts. But why? Why does Pakistan keep facing economic crisis? And can the country break free from this cycle? This is the story of why Pakistan is in economic crisis. Pakistan is home to more than 250 million people. It possesses nuclear weapons. It occupies one of the most strategic locations in Asia, and yet, despite its enormous potential, the country has struggled to achieve sustained economic growth. Debt, potential instability, weak exports, energy shortages, and decades of structural problems have pushed the country into repeated crises. But understanding Pakistan's economic trouble requires going back to the beginning. When Pakistan gained independence in 1947, it inherited limited industrial infrastructure. Unlike India, much of Pakistan's economy depended on agriculture. Over the decades, Pakistan experienced periods of rapid growth. During the 1960s, the country was considered one of Asia's most promising economies. But economic development was often interrupted by wars, political instability, military coups, changing policies. As a result, long-term planning became difficult and many opportunities were lost. One of Pakistan's biggest problems is debt. For decades, government has relied heavily on foreign loans, international institutions, friendly countries. Instead of generating enough revenue through exports and taxes, Pakistan frequently borrowed money to finance spendings. Over time, debt accumulated. Today, a large portion of government income goes towards repaying previous loans. This creates a vicious cycle. New loans are often needed simply to repay old ones, and escaping that cycle becomes increasingly difficult. Economic growth requires stability, but Pakistan's political history has been turbulent. Since independence, the country has experienced multiple military coups, frequent changes in government, political crises, institutional tensions. Uncertainty discourages investments. Businesses prefer stable environment. Foreign investors seek predictability. Without political stability, sustained economic growth becomes much harder to achieve. Pakistan's economy also suffers from structural weaknesses. Energy shortage have frequently disrupted industrial production. Factories often struggle with electricity shortages, rising fuel prices, high production cost. Meanwhile, manufacturing has not developed at the same pace as many Asian economies. Countries such as China, Vietnam, South Korea built powerful export industries. Pakistan, however, remained heavily dependent on agriculture and low-value products. This limited its ability to compete globally. Whenever Pakistan faces a balance of payments crisis, it often turns to the International Monetary Fund. Over the decades, Pakistan has received numerous IMF programs. These bailouts provide temporary relief, but they also require painful reforms. Such measures often include spending cuts, higher taxes, currency adjustment, reduced subsidies. While these policies stabilize the economy, they can also increase inflation and public dissatisfaction. As a result, reforms are often delayed or reversed, and the cycle begins again. In recent years, China has become one of Pakistan's most important economic partners. Through the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, billions of dollars have been invested in roads, ports, power plants, infrastructure. Supporters argue that these projects will transform Pakistan's economy. Critics, however, worry about rising debt and dependence on China. While CPEC has improved infrastructure, many of its long-term economic benefits remain uncertain. One of the biggest challenges facing ordinary Pakistanis is inflation. Food prices have increased sharply, energy costs have risen, and the Pakistani rupee has weakened significantly against the dollar. A weaker currency makes import more expensive, and because Pakistan imports large amount of oil, machinery, industrial materials, inflation spread throughout the economy. This reduces purchasing power and increases hardship for millions of people. Successful economies usually export more than they import, but Pakistan has struggled to diversify its exports. Much of its export income comes from textile, cotton products, agricultural goods. Meanwhile, imports often exceeds exports. This creates persistent trade deficit. Countries like South Korea and Vietnam expanded into electronics, advanced manufacturing, technology. Pakistan has struggled to make a similar transition, and this has limited economic growth. Despite its challenges, Pakistan possesses enormous potential. The country has a young population, strategic geography, large domestic markets, strong entrepreneurial talent. If Pakistan can achieve political stability, structural reforms, better education, industrial monetization, export diversification, it could unlock tremendous economic opportunities. Many countries that once faced severe crises eventually transform themselves. Pakistan's future remains uncertain, but recovery is possible. So why is Pakistan in economic crisis? Because decades of debt, political instability, weak exports, and structural problems have created a cycle that is difficult to escape. But history shows that economic destinies are not permanent. Countries can change, economies can recover, and while the right reforms, Pakistan may yet realize the potential that many believed it possessed decades ago. The question is whether the country can overcome the challenges that have held it back for so long.